Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Mark Fisher Outdoors. Today we're going to be talking about speed worms. And there are, in my experience, there's three mistakes that guys make quite a bit when they're throwing a speed worm. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm referring to a speed worm. I'm talking about a cut-tail worm. Some guys call them a swimming worm. And we saw Lee Livesey using a speed worm at the Classic with a lot of success, working it over grass. He had a very shallow kind of milfoil or not a very high milfoil, and the bass were in that down at Ray Roberts and had a lot of success throwing that speed worm. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about what those three mistakes are. We're going to start down here in the barn bait shop, and then we're going to move up to the pool and kind of show you those mistakes, show you how to correct them, show you the proper way to throw a swimming worm or a speed worm. Stick around, guys. Welcome back to Mark Fisher Outdoors, everybody. I'm Mark Fisher, and like I said, we're talking about a speed worm. The typical speed worm that I throw when I'm throwing this will be a Zoom Ultra Vibe, either in the Magnum size or just the smaller size. And this is the Magnum size that I have rigged up on this bait right now. So let's get into some of the mistakes that guys make when they're throwing a speed worm. And the number one mistake that they make is how they rig this speed worm. If you take a look at this, a speed worm needs to be rigged so that your tail, your cut, is going down. And so the way that you do that is if you set up when you're putting the worm on, you use an EWG hook, and when you're using that, if you can just set that up so that the cut faces the hook, you go up till you get to the bend of the hook, come straight across, and then when you turn it, now your cut is facing the bottom of the hook or the bend of the hook. Measure where you want that hook to go through so that when you come back through the worm, your barb lays flush along the worm and you've got your cut tail riding with the hook, which creates a keel. Now you've got, as that bait's swimming along, you've got that hook as a keel and you've got the cut that's flapping back here. And again, you do that whether you're using the Magnum or just the regular size bait. Now, when you go to the second mistake that a lot of guys make, it has to do with the weight. And I'm not talking as much about size of weight, because size of weight depends on how deep you want it to run, how fast you want to run the bait. But it does have to do with whether or not you're pegging that weight. You want to, in whatever way you choose, you want to peg that weight so that that bait is running as one unit. It falls as one unit, you're pulling it as one unit, and this is something that we're going to show specifically in the pool why this is so important. Once you have those two rigging mistakes taken care of, now we can talk about how to fish the bait properly and the ways that some guys make some mistakes or that you can improve on those mistakes so that you can catch more fish. So as we're getting into the pool, one thing this bait is rigged properly, and you can see how well it's running in the water. And what I'm going to do is just show you an example. I've intentionally not rigged this bait correctly, and you can take a look at this bait and see the difference when I've got a bait that's rigged improperly, and you can see how this bait is running. Notice how the hook is all the way off to the side. What that's going to do is that's going to significantly decrease your hookup ratio, because now your hook, instead of being vertical and being able to get into the top of the fish's mouth, that hook is running horizontal, and your hookup percentage is going to be much, much less. Now, when I was down in the barn, I talked about the idea of pegging that weight. And one of the reasons that we do that, not only is it, as you've seen, to get the bait to run true as it's running over the top of grass or running across the water column, but a speed worm is actually a very good bait to pitch into things like lily pads and things like that. And when you pitch this bait directly down, if you peg that weight, what you'll get is a bait that'll go straight down to the bottom. The tail kicks all the way down to the bottom, and it's a very good bait to work vertically, especially, like I said, in lily pads and things like that. But you want to have that weight pegged so that that weight stays connected to the worm as it's going down. Any ability for that weight to slide up and down the line will hinder that action of that tail on your speed worm as it's falling down if you don't peg that weight right up to the bait. And then finally, another thing that I want to show you using the pool is you can see that at this point, I'm letting the bait sink all the way to the bottom and let it sit on the bottom, and then just giving it slow little twitches, and you can see that the bait actually starts to flutter every time that I twitch the bait. And that becomes a triggering action as well. When that bait is sitting on the bottom and a fish is inspecting it, but maybe not deciding whether or not to bite, but the minute you twitch it and that tail starts to kick, that is absolutely a triggering action that I've found, especially in Florida, to trigger bites. So the three things that we're looking at is make sure you rig your speed worms correctly, make sure you peg your weights, and remember that you can swim the bait horizontally over grass, you can pitch the bait vertically, and you can kind of do a combination of kind of a dead stick with little twitches to trigger strikes using a speed worm. Guys, those are the secrets that I've got for using a speed worm. I hope you enjoyed the content. And listen, do me a favor, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification button. We put out videos Monday through Friday. We'd love you to be part of the Mark Fisher Outdoors community. Join us Monday through Friday. Guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow for another episode of Mark Fisher Outdoors. Take care, everybody.